as a consultant, your life is sort of measured out in these chapters of scopes of work. I've been kind of living in that mode for the last 10 years, and the way I sort of went about it, and the purposefully or just sort of manifesting it, I ended up with all these varieties of scopes, like different types of clients, different types of work. And I love that. I love maybe doing something completely different from one day to the next. So, the scope of work it sounds very transactional because it kind of has to be, right? This is what you're going to do. This is how much you get paid. But it represents all the time you spent, kind of dreaming, like, this is how I can help people. And these are the services I can provide. And here's a person who could use my help, and discovering what they need. And one of the great things about working in sustainability is that most of the time people really don't know what they need. So that discovery process is really rewarding. And then you design the work, and that's very strategic, which is, what I really love. And then you lead the work. Then you break it down into the sort of the milestones, the deliverables, the budget, and all that stuff. And it gets more and more transactional. And my passion and skill set has always been more at the design, strategy, leadership, insight kind of arena. And I've done a good job, I think, of partnering with people who can be very project management, transaction, execution. And so that's been really great. But, still as the leader, I'm still accountable for the scope of work, right? It's a contract. So yeah. So it's crazy, something like a cancer diagnosis, like, makes you instantly go into this clinical mode, right? Like, this test has to be done and this appointment has to be made. And it's very clinical, this is still, I'm like only a few days into this. And yes, there's been emotion, but I think it's just because I have to be so clinical that I don't, maybe I'm like suppressing, some stuff. But if you saw my video the other day, kind of what that journey looks like for me. I'm not in denial or anything, but within almost minutes of, this getting sort of this pre-diagnosis, my mind starts going to scope of work, like my clients and such. Obviously my friends and family and all that's important, but I love, those are people I love, but I'm not responsible for any of them. I'm responsible for clients and people who, a lot of people depend on me for the work that I lead. And so immediately I go into this place of like, okay, well, so how am I going to transition this, and who's going to do that, and how are we going to, how's this going to work? And I think there's like maybe it's like I'm almost like proud of myself for being responsible and thinking of it that way, because I think a lot of people would probably be like, well, you're kind of justified to just like check out, but I have, I'm recovering from surgery one of, perhaps many. And so I actually feel physically okay. I'm, a little stronger and healed each day from that part of it. So, I'm not ready to stick my head in the sand and not be responsible about that. So I have to let go of, wind down, step away from all of these scopes of work and all the ones that, aren't active, but I was hoping for, things I was your pipeline, if you will. And there's this part of me, of course, shouldn't be surprising. It's like, well, maybe I can still kind of like, I can still be involved in some calls and some, and I'm sure most of the world's like, Aurora, seriously, like, no, be realistic. This is not this is not what your next few months is going to look like. I mean, if I can, then great. If I'm able to still, hear what's going on and contribute my insights and thoughts or whatever, fine. But I'm very proud of the job I've done setting up various scopes of work and the various people in these scenarios to be successful without me. And that doesn't I'm not sad. I'm not sad by that. I'm actually just really proud. That makes me happy that I can feel comfort in that. But obviously also, there's going to be some mourning and grief once, I think, in a few weeks, where it's like I'm really am not on the calls. I'm really not part of the work. I'm really not copied on the emails or whatever. And that's yeah, the reaction, right? Like, there you go. When the truth hits, and that's when I'm going to feel it. So I have to realize that I have a new scope of work. And I mean, obviously it's kind of like I got to take care of myself. I have to do whatever, the specialist and everybody tells me to do. But it's really, I've spent so much of my life, just living for work, not in a bad way, like that, but I like in a good way. Like that's what I love. And so, I think that's going to be like a thing to sort of, that's going to be a mourning thing. I mean, maybe that's something where, I don't know what it would look like to maybe get some comfort or some updates of like my work and my clients and my my network, So I'm trying to figure out what my next scope of work is and design that. Already being very strategic and trying to listen to my needs as I would with any client, and build out a scope of work that leads to the kind of, value add and impact that I do for my clients. So if you are a client, if you have ever had a scope of work with me, if you've ever been, like I've ever had a scope of work with you or I do currently, and I'm transitioning that, I am super grateful for all the work I've been able to do, and still hopeful that I would get to do more, that I would especially get to stand in front of rooms of people again and make them excited to drive change and willing to take those steps. So we'll see how that re-emerges in my life down the road. But for now, I'm in a period of closing out, transitioning my scopes of work, and developing a new one, contract with myself.